anti-communism hurts all of us. It's not just about being wrong about communism. It is a poison pill that has destroyed so many lives and has made so many people right here in this country miserable. All kinds of awful things in your life are justified with anti-communism. You don't have health care because of anti-communism. Your wages are low because of anti-communism. Roads aren't being paved because of anti-communism. Drug gangs are coming into this country, and you know why? Because starting in the 1980s, the USA started sending weapons to people called the Contras who murdered people. And you know what the justification for sending them those weapons was? Anti-communism.
The other major issue of the hearings, of course, was the diversion of funds to the Nicaraguan Contras. I believed then, and I believe now, in preventing the Soviets from establishing a beachhead in Central America.
And it's based on a pack of complete lies.
While $30 million had been allocated for the weapons, the CIA funneled a portion of that money to the Contras in Nicaragua, the group Reagan supported in their guerrilla fight against the Sandinista government.
What was China like before the communists came in? What is China like now? What was Cuba like before Fidel? What is Cuba like now? What was Libya like before Gaddafi? What was Libya like under Gaddafi? And what is it like now? I mean, it's obvious. They do everything they can to obscure the obvious. Communism has been a largely successful economic system. That doesn't mean human rights weren't violated. That doesn't mean there were serious shortcomings when it came to the production of consumer goods. That doesn't mean that there weren't, crimes, atrocities committed, innocent people put in gulags or murdered. But the standard line, communism just doesn't work, is bullshit. It's complete and utter bullshit. Communists invented space travel. Communists turned the Soviet Union into an industrial superpower. Communists have built the largest telecommunications manufacturer in the world. Communists have built the world's largest hydroelectrical power plants. Communists invented the mobile phone. Communists have done astronomical, amazing things. Communists have lifted hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. These are undisputed facts. And the desperation, well, there was this famine in like the early 60s in China. There were famines every day before the communists took power. Every year people died of malnutrition. There were all kinds of famines before the communists took power. Oh, yeah, but like Stalin, he killed people. Wow, I can't think of any capitalist government that's ever killed anybody. Oh, well, you didn't have human rights in the socialist countries. Geez, I can't think of any capitalist society that's violated human rights before. It's all just bullshit. Oh, communist countries don't have human rights. Plenty of capitalist countries don't have human rights. Oh, communist countries, there's famines. There were famines every day, and it's the communists who built the agriculture and mechanized agriculture and raised people out of poverty and got rid of that. So that doesn't work. Right? Oh, well, the communists, they jailed and oppressed a bunch of people. Well, the biggest rate of incarceration in the world today is the United States of America. Right? Well, communists, communist economics, they just stifle innovation. Well, it's funny that they invented space travel and mobile phones and satellites and, LED lights and all of that. It's funny they invented all that, it's pretty wild. Anti-communism is just a pack of lies, right? Compare Nicaragua to Honduras, Guatemala, and the surrounding free market countries. Nicaragua, Christianity, socialism, and solidarity, the Sandinistas, people are doing pretty well. Cuba sends literacy volunteers and medical volunteers all over the world. According to Ban Ki-moon and all kinds of sources, they have the best medical school in the world, one of the best medical systems in the world. When Libya was a socialist society under Gaddafi, people from all over Africa were trying to get into Libya to try and get some of the access to the wealth that socialist oil production was creating, the socialist society there. Now that Libya has been bombed into the free market and bombed into capitalism and chaos, people are drowning in the Mediterranean trying to get out of Libya. So it's just a pack of lies, period, right? And you know what infuriates me the most about anti-communism? The arrogance. All right, these anti-communists, they're just like, well, communists want to divide up everything equally, and that wouldn't work because then everyone would be lazy, right? And they think that like the millions of people who died fighting for communism in China, the millions of people who died fighting for communism and defending the Soviet Union, waving the hammer and sickle, the millions of people who gave their lives for communism, The millions of people who fought and gave their lives to the mission to create a socialist society, to reach that ultimate goal of communism, were just so stupid that we didn't understand that everyone getting paid the exact same wage doesn't work. It makes me angry. They have this simplistic understanding of communism, and it never occurs to them that the millions and millions of people who fought for the Soviet Union, who rallied to the defense of the Soviet Union, all of them were just so stupid that they didn't realize, right, that all the people who built China into a modern country under the leadership of the Communist Party, studying Mao Zedong thought, Deng Xiaoping theory, all of them were just so stupid that they couldn't understand, everyone can't be equal, then everyone would be lazy. And that's what's the most infuriating thing about anti-communists. They have no desire to know what communists actually believe. They have no desire to understand what communists stand for. They assume that we're all just like, 3-year-olds going, it's no fair. Some people have more money than others. It's no fair. It's no fair. And then, well, you need to understand those people worked for their money, little Johnny. And they think that solves the argument, right? Anti-communist tropes are the most annoying thing. Right? I had a teacher who said communism is if I gave every kid in the class a C. Right? And I mean, it's like that's the level that anti-communism is. It's stupid. Right? It is idiotic. It is insulting. Right? And it's arrogant. It's the height of arrogance. Right? They don't want to know. They don't want to know what communists actually believe because they're afraid of the social consequences for knowing it. That's all it is, right? They have no idea what communists believe. They have no idea why they believe it, and they're scared to actually learn it because they're afraid they might get in trouble. They might get canceled. People might judge them. Communism is a bad thing to be in America, so I better not know about it. I better just memorize a couple dumb cliches about every kid in the class getting a C or whatever. Because if I investigate it and I actually learn it and I actually learn that there might be some truth in it, I might not fit in. I might get judged. I might get persecuted. Well, maybe you should take a $1 bill out of your fucking wallet and look at the founders of this country. Do you think they got persecuted? Do you think they got persecuted? Do you think they risked anything? Why don't you ask yourself about Martin Luther King Day? Who was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? Do you think he took any risks for what he believed? Do you think he just went along with what everyone else said because he didn't want to know because he might get in trouble? History is not made by cowards, and intellectual cowardice infuriates me. And most anti-communism is nothing but intellectual cowardice. I mean, I'm not a fascist, but I have read fascist literature. I know why fascists believe what they believe. I am not a libertarian, but I have read libertarian literature. I know what libertarians believe. I am not a liberal, but I know what liberals believe. When I was a small, young teenager, I discovered that the Soviet Union had astronomical economic successes. And when I saw that, I got angry because I had been lied to. Because everything I'd been told about communism, well, it just doesn't work. It was a pack of lies. And those utter lies, they don't just cause people to not believe in communism. I was here in New York City in 2011, and there was a bill that was proposed. I wrote an article about it at the time. It's in my compilation of articles, Capitalism Must Be Destroyed. Mayor Bloomberg overturned, there was a bill requiring all cities, all firms that do contracts with the cities to pay their employees $10 an hour. Pretty basic, right? That if you do business with the city, you got to pay a living wage. Mayor Bloomberg vetoed it. And you know why he vetoed it? Well, the Soviet Union, they tried to, give everyone a living wage and communism failed. So we can't do that. Yeah, we can't do that. I'm the mayor of New York City, Mayor Bloomberg. We can't pay people a decent wage. Communism, right? Bernie Sanders, every debate Bernie Sanders did, every single one. You'd be up there and say, oh, I think we ought to provide health care. Oh, my God, Pol Pot killed millions, gajillions of people. You want to give people free health care? Anti-communism has led to a situation where our roads are falling apart, where we have private prisons for profit. We have schools for profit and charter schools where our drinking water isn't being properly purified. Our country has been ripped apart to the drumbeat of anti-communism. Anti-communism is the reason that you are stuck in a cycle of low-wage, short-term service sector jobs. You don't have a good-paying industrial job with a union. Anti-communism is the reason that we are spending billions of dollars on this huge military we have to send all over the world, because if not, the communists are going to come and take over. Anti-communism is why they're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine. Well, that Putin, he's a KGB guy. He's trying to rebuild the Soviet Union. Anti-communism hurts you. And it's bullshit. The strength of socialism wasn't the guillotines. It wasn't the firing squads. It wasn't the persecution. That's not what people remember the strength of socialism being. They just did a poll. 75% of Russians say that the Soviet Union was the best time in their history, but they're not thinking that because of executions. This was from a PBS documentary. They interviewed a woman named Tatiana Fedorova.
Stalin set a task: build this or build that. And thanks to the fact that people trusted him and this enthusiasm of young people, it was possible. Remember, this was a country where people were illiterate, lived in virtual darkness, wore birch bark shoes. Even now, I think it's like something out of a fairy tale. How was it possible at one of the most difficult times to raise these great construction sites? It was only possible through the unity of the people and the love of the people for their idol.
And the reason Stalin remains wildly popular in Russia, it's not because he executed people, it's because he mobilized them to build that country up from nothing. This was a country... He built some of the world's largest power plants, he wiped out illiteracy, and he built a modern industrial country. He raised millions of people up out of poverty. The strength of socialism was not that it punished people and that it persecuted people, but rather that it enabled people to go out and build and construct. I've said to many people, I'm not a socialist because I want to destroy America. I'm a socialist because I want to save America.